second. Here we go. Yeah, we're looking good. So thanks for taking the time to do this. And my questions are really simple, right? None of us really know what all this is. We're trying our best to understand it. I actually talked to Luke Fedlam last week, who's working with you all from Anomaly Sports on the NIL kind of consultation side of things. How confident were you to get started in this with the information you had to go ahead and get moving on it to try to be ahead of the game a little bit when it became law today?
At first I wasn't really confident, especially when the law came out and there was talks and ramblings about it going on. But Ohio State did an amazing job setting me up with a lot of information and learning opportunities for me to learn about NIL just from the overall perspective, and then what's legal, what's not legal. And then also we have people come in that were financial advisors or people that were talking about contract law or taxes, and just me being able to understand all of those different facets of what it's going to take to get this NIL thing rolling and get it rolling the right way. It was a nerve-wracking experience for the most part, but a lot of the help with Ohio State and Ohio State football giving me those opportunities to go to meetings and learn different things and take notes really set me up to where I felt like I had a great shot and a good opportunity to get the ball rolling on July 1st.
And this is grown-up stuff, like you just mentioned, the taxes that are involved and some of the things that maybe in contract law that you just wouldn't think about when a company reaches out and says, hey, can you talk about this, et cetera. So what has the conversation been like between you, your teammates, your peers about, obviously you're excited for this day, but trying to balance those things, figuring out how to do it in a way that obviously you all benefit from, but also follows the whatever policies are in place?
I think just the idea of our brotherhood kind of revolved around that, because we're all supporting each other. We're all helping each other. We're all talking about different things that we're doing, different contracts that we maybe have signed or thinking about signing. We're also looking at each other's stuff like, hey, by the way, if you're going to do this, did you think about this? Or if they tell us like, yeah, they want us to do that, we're also like, well, what are the requirements that you need to do to make sure that you fulfill your obligations so that you fulfill whatever contract you have? We're all helping each other and just talking to each other. And there's no like sort of jealousy or like resentment towards any of us as players, because at the end of the day, it's a brotherhood. And this is just a new thing in our brotherhood that we have to deal with as a family. And that's something that I think that we're all really excited about. And together as a team and just us as a collective, I think we're all going to have a good time learning from each other, understanding what each other are doing and what are the good things that we've done, what are the bad things that we've done, and to learn from one another.
So obviously you're from the Tampa area. So I'm wondering if you can walk me through how this partnership that you announced today got started with the company. Interesting company as well. I kind of get what they're doing. It's kind of like a modernized version of ZipRecruiter. Using a resource for companies to recruit talent, right? So how did this relationship come together? And is it somewhat based on your hometown, somebody there, that kind of thing?
It's a lot of things that kind of came together that made me feel comfortable about choosing FlixCV LLC as a company that I wanted to promote and endorse. So first of all, when I wanted to do this NIL thing, when I was talking to my mom and people in my inner circle, I said that I want to make sure that I target the areas that made me grow up the most. I wanted to target the areas that made me into the man I am today, and the places that made me grow, not only athletically, but academically and socially. And the places I feel like that I've done that are Columbus, Ohio, with Ohio State, and then Tampa, Florida, with Berkeley Prep High School, and then just the Tampa area in general. I feel like those are two spots that I feel like I know people. I have a lot of great relations with, and with those people that I know, I've learned from them, and they've helped me in multiple ways, way earlier than any of this NIL stuff ever came about. And they did it just for the pure satisfaction of them knowing that they helped me out. So if there was anything I could do for me to reach back to my communities that I felt like were the reason why I am to where I am today, I wanted to make sure I reached into that. So Mrs. Paxton, she actually has two sons that are at Berkeley High School. One of her sons is at Indiana, and then her other son is a sophomore who's a kicker at Berkeley Prep. Just me having a connection with Berkeley families in general, because Berkeley as a whole built me to who I am today and was such a good community for me and a great learning experience for me for 4 years, that I was more than willing for me to go ahead and reach out back into that community and that cesspool of people, very successful people as well, who have great ideas, great envisionment of what they want to have in their lives and companies and businesses. So me reaching back to them was a no-brainer.
That's very cool. That's a very cool story. What about, obviously there's a lot of things you have to already do. Very smart. You've got a great academic future. And so that's obviously a big part of your time. Being a high-level football player at a place like Ohio State is an enormous commitment of time. So you're adding those things together. So walk me through how you want to balance this new element to your career and trying to make it worth your while and make it something that you're comfortable doing, but also understanding the time commitments involved. How do you intend to try to balance that as best you can?
It's a new thing, and like there's going to be a lot of me just playing around with things and trying to see where my time's going to lie and what type of things do I have and what type of time do I have for certain things. But overall, I think that what I'm going to make sure I focus on is academics and athletics. That's number one, because that's what got me here in the first place. And without NIL or anything like that, that's the reason why I'm here. So that's what I want to focus on, number one, obviously. And then with the NIL stuff and also some internships I have, I'm going to make sure that I can facilitate them whenever I have free time. I'm going to make sure that they aren't the major part of my day. And I'm going to make sure that overall that I manage myself and I make sure I have a schedule and make sure I do things in the right way.
Very cool. Obviously, today has been treated like a bit of a national holiday for, I was a college athlete. Nobody would have paid me anything to endorse anything. But today is a day where, college athletes all over the country, current and past, have been celebrating this. And a lot of folks that, obviously guys who were, older than you at Ohio State that when you first came in were your peers and your mentors, they never got this opportunity. I'm wondering what this day is like for a current student athlete. Is it a day of celebration, a day of maybe something that was a long time coming? How do you view what this day represents to college athletes?
It's a day of celebration for sure for a lot of college athletes, but I want to make sure there's a day of thanks for the people before me, the people that created this opportunity, that went to bat, went to law offices, try to have talks with people, try to have talks with NCAA to get us to this point. So to all the people who supported us and supported this opportunity for NIL to be created, it's a great thank you to them, and it's a testament to their work. And I'm only humbled and I'm blessed to be able to have an opportunity for me to capitalize on the work that they sowed.
Yeah, it's pretty great. How do you envision that companies are going to be now? One of the things I love about this is some of the people who will get some of the biggest deals are not big famous football players or basketball players, from a being on television perspective, but more like social media influencers, people who have millions of, Instagram and TikTok followers and those kind of things. How much advisement have you been told from the Ohio State folks about that part of developing your branding of especially in that market of people who might be interested in knowing you and knowing about who you are as an athlete and a person? How big an element is social media to that component and growing that brand?
It's a huge component. I mean, I remember Gene Smith talked about that this NIL opportunity is a great opportunity for all student athletes, not just necessarily football stars or necessarily football athletes, but all student athletes to get an opportunity to make extra cash, to use their name, image, and likeness to the betterment of themselves, to support themselves and their families, however they see fit. So it's a huge testament to all student athletes that have a great social media following. And we've had a lot of meetings at Ohio State about the social media aspect. We had people that come in and talk about ways that we can promote ourselves better, good ways for us to make sure that we have the right tweets and the right Instagram posts, make sure that we audit ourselves and make sure that we don't have anything that could be harmful content or seem bad for certain businesses or business people in the future. And then we also learn about when are the best times to post, what are the worst times to post. We have like a lot of data and analytics about it that kind of helps us and guides us in a way to where we can learn what are the best ways for us to grow our following, what are the best ideas to grow our following, what should we focus on, what are the things we shouldn't focus on, what are the things we should and shouldn't post.
Excellent. One last thing for you, if I can. One of the things that frankly, it's the dumbest argument. But people who are against athletes getting paid, and they're still out there. There's plenty of people who don't think this is a great idea. Certainly, the NCAA has fought it for decades. So there's people who aren't necessarily on board with it, but I think there's a bit of a, not a bit, a big misunderstanding about what this is. I'm not sure that NIL is an opportunity for college athletes to get rich. I think it's an opportunity to have some income. Those aren't the same thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that I think is curious about NIL, that it seems like a big misconception, right? Like, how do you view, well, whether you agree with that or not, how do you view that perception of NIL and what it actually is and how it would actually work?
Well, I understand the other side of the argument where they're talking about how they want to keep, the sanctity of the game. This is the game. This is a child. Football is a child's game that we're all playing and we're all having fun with. And I understand that some people just want to keep the sanctity of it. But in terms of the other side of the argument, I'm here to say that, like, it's not about the money. It's never been about the amount of money that we can make at college or the amount of money that someone could profit off themselves. It's been more about being able to have different avenues and different ways to express oneself. We don't want to, it's not about being bogged down to only playing football and only going to school. That's not all student athletes are. Student athletes have so many more characteristics about themselves, so much more personality about themselves, that we just want to find different ways for us to express ourselves. And we have been able to find channels to express ourselves before NIL. I just think of NIL as a new opportunity and another way to express ourselves in a bigger front to more people. So I just think that that's kind of where I stand in terms of the NIL situation on the are they paying, should they be paid or should they not be paid? But overall, I think what needs to happen is just legislation to make sure that everything's governed and corrected so that there's no issues. I think that's really what people are kind of worried about, is that there's no real body or legislation that could kind of dictate how things are going to go. And I think that's going to take a lot of work from the NCAA and a lot of work from student athletes. And I think it's going to take both of them coming together and understanding one another before just seeing one another for face value and just saying he's just a student or they're just a big bad NCAA. I think it's going to take more understanding from both sides. And I hope that in the future, with whatever opportunities I have in NIL, that I can maybe be a part of that and help create and foster a sort of relationship between the two.
Wow. Very